Hello and welcome to Dreamers Theater, specifically our little talk show known as Sleep Talk. I am your kind of host-ish man for today, Slive. You can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Blue Sky at Slive the Lad or Slive TL. All those should work. I am joined by fellow Dreamers Theater member and player, Micah.
Hi, I'm Micah. You cannot find me on the internet. I'm a shadow. But if you would like to give us an email, you can do that at theaterdreamers0@gmail.com or follow us on Blue Sky or TikTok at Dreamers Theater. Okay, what are we talking about today?
This is the first episode of Sleep Talk. At least I believe it's going to be the first episode that we post. It's the first one we're recording if we want to get into the nitty gritty and, break the timeline out. So I think we all thought that a good starting, talk show for TTRPGs is to talk about prepping for a session. So we are going to discuss a little bit for today about prepping a session, both as a game master or dungeon master or admin or like what is it, director? I think some games call it.
Yeah, there's so many MC. God, the list goes on.
There's 17,000 terms for the person that runs the world, quote unquote. But also, I think it's very important to discuss the ideas and things to do to prep as a player. So I made a lot of notes. Well, a lot. I made some notes to discuss prepping the game or prepping a session as a GM, and I believe you have made some notes on prepping the game as a player, and we can just kind of riff off of those notes and discuss for as long as we as we see fit.
And I think this works as a battle royale wherein you critique my player prep. We're fighting. I think this works as combat, right?
Yeah, this is Street Fighter.
Okay. So I summon in attack position.
Immediately, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh.
No. No, I'm showing my age. I'm showing when I grew up that I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
You're playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I'd never do that. I never played Yu-Gi-Oh at the schoolyard. I would never.
No, nobody ever. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad it's also a Canadian thing. No, yeah. I just think thinking about prep is such an interesting thing because the piece of advice I inevitably come back to is the piece of advice I always hate getting from people about things, which is that you kind of get out of it what you put in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's just it's an annoying piece of advice, but it is true. You gotta show up. And that can be at different points, and there are a lot of different ways that you can do it that can help, and we can talk about that. But there is a point where you gotta show up.
Yeah, I mean, showing up to the session is the best form of prep because you're there.
Yes.
But yeah, I think there's a lot. We can start with the player stuff a bit, and we can maybe go back and forth tennis match a bit with talking about player and GM stuff. And starting with player prep, I feel like not a lot of players really think that they need to prep. They need to be well, I have to have my character sheet and I have to have my dice. And in my experience, sometimes the players can't even do that much. Oh, and that's not a dig, that's just a fact.
It's really contextual, right? Some players want the experience of showing up at a game store with a pre-gen character and being what's the drop-in game today? And they just have a level 5 bard ready to go.
Yeah, and even some GMs want that kind of experience. They're just another member of the cast, Edward. He makes a lot of games where he kind of makes a giant story, and people kind of drop in. Not exactly in the sense that they have no idea, they discuss beforehand, but a lot of time, the players don't really know each other. You're kind of it's all happenstance. It's very much game store like. And some GMs really like that style, and it makes minimal prep for the players, which is really nice for them, especially for newer players. It's really nice when you don't know what you're doing and it's hard enough to really get all the notes on a character sheet where you're reading sigils and just like what do these modifiers mean and why are they below or above the stats and stuff like that. It's kind of nice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone I think should play in a game store setting, like a drop-in setting. It's really freeing to just be like, okay. But on the flip side of that, you're gonna need to do a little more prep. Depend if your circumstances less forgiving than that.
Yeah, like for for the campaign we're currently working on, um I don't think that that all of you guys, I'm jamming it, the current session or campaign that we're running right now, and I think for you guys, like the players, you don't have to have a lot of prep, but I think it's always good to discuss a couple things even an hour or two before with player to player or player to GM, just to get yourself back in the mindset, because the setting requires a lot of thought and it's kind of like a mystery-ish play style, right? And so, like you were saying, you get what you put in, and if your brain's off for a mystery campaign, not even just talking about our campaign, but for any mystery campaign, if like your brain's kind of off, you might not have a great time. Like you might still have a blast, right? But I think it's definitely dependent on the character you decide to play.
Yes, just if you don't want to do prep, or don't want to remember names, just be like me and play a -3 intelligence character.
Oh, incredibly true. Incredibly true.
That's secretly how you do it, players. Is whatever you think your worst stat is as a player, you make that your dump stat in the character,
and
and
then it's super easy to roleplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I'm in a different campaign right now as a player, one of Edward's like home games.
Okay.
And one of the players that we are with is just about to change characters because he was playing a scientist and he was like, I can't do this.
Oh my god.
It's been like 5 games and he's like, I can't play this. I cannot do this.
Because you have to be as smart as the character. Yeah.
Yeah, which like I think that's another section about like playing. That's a different episode for like how to play your character, even if you don't like maybe have the stats or the necessities for that type of character, because it's an imagination game, right? You can do whatever you want, and you should be able to do whatever you want. But that's a whole other topic. But I thought it was very funny to talk about that kind of intelligence thing, because I've definitely been in that situation where I have to play like playing a sword, like in D&D, he's playing a sorcerer or a warlock, that's high charisma spellcasty, and you just kind of want to play like this hermitish character, but then every time you make a deception roll, you win, and it's like, so how do you succeed this? But I just,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I feel that way about charisma checks. Just in general, I'm like, I like to have time to think. I'm not necessarily great like on my feet, and so someone's like, "Okay, you just rolled a nat 20 in your charisma check," and I go, yeah."
I did. Ooh.
Oh man, we're getting off topic already.
Yeah, God.
No,
this is gonna be the whole. This is gonna be the whole
this
series.
is gonna be the whole series. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that comes down to like, as a player, like when I'm making a character, when I'm playing a character, I am like, those are the kinds of questions that really do interest me, like as a player, and just being prepared to like be in the moment and answer them honestly is really fun, because I don't know what the answer would be until you put me in that moment.
Yeah, like that kind of like right in front of the gun,
Mm-hmm.
really that moment where you just kind of gotta make up an answer. And I think a lot of time if you're with a good group, most of the time I don't think anyone's ever going to mock you for the answer, but everyone's kind of got to roll with it. And no matter how funny or silly or stupid that may sound, if it works, right?
Right.
And so then it becomes this moment where forever, you succeeded a charisma check, because you yelled out the word banana like a goddamn minion from Despicable Me, and that just charmed the noble, and you won. And everyone's gonna talk about it.
Banana.
Someone's gonna buy you a minion shirt. Like one of the party members is gonna buy you a minion shirt. This is not a real story. I'm just making this up. But this stuff like this happens.
Stuff like this does happen because people like to pretend to be white suburban moms who are obsessed with the minions.
That's all we're trying to be, I think.
Also, side note to our side note, because we go down the tangents. Why are people still obsessed with the minions? Like now people are like jokingly kind of obsessed with hating them.
We're back on the minion train.
I may have never left.
I think it's like I don't think it ever really left, but it's like the Minions movie made this like huge, not the Minions movie, the Rise of Gru, the second one.
Oh God, that's
made this
right.
like huge post-ironic movement of like wearing a suit to the theaters, but then you're like funding the joke, like you're funding the antithesis to the joke, right? And like I did for a buddy's birthday party, we were in our 20s, and for someone's birthday we dressed up nicely. We didn't get suits and ties, we don't own those, but we dressed up nicely and went into our theater and watched Rise of Gru.
Oh my!
And you know what?
God,
it was fine. It's a fun movie. It's fine.
Okay. I've never seen Rise of Gru. I just unfortunately have lived on the internet for the past lifetime.
We've just been here. We've been in the midst of it.
Been here.
Do you mind if we take the ball over to my court and talk about some GM stuff real quick?
Oh yeah, sure. GM stuff. GM me.
Yeah, I'm such a GM. I love GMing. But I have a couple stuff. I have a document full of notes right now, and I'm just gonna go down line by line and kind of like extrapolate on the stuff I'm writing down, and then we can have maybe a conversation about that. I'm gonna go for the first 3 points because I think they have different like aspects, but they're kind of all based on the same appeal of the first 3 things that you should be working on as a GM, just in general. The first thing I have mentioned is broad strokes versus pinpoint detail. This is more so to say that you will try your damnedest when prepping to make an NPC in this one location that the players will definitely go to, in this city that the players will definitely care about, and that NPC is going to be like the catalyst for your entire plot line. That NPC will never be seen. And if he is, he will be talked to once, and then everyone will go like, "You're cool. All right, back to the chickens."
Has this happened in our campaign? This feels fresh.
No, because I've learned.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
Does this feel a little spiteful?
It just felt fresh. I just had to point that out.
No, there's like, I mean, I don't want to like spoil anything because I don't know when this is coming out comparative to the episodes, but
fair.
There is like a couple NPCs. I'll say names, and this may mean nothing to viewers for now, but like Moof Motor, he's kind of like an important NPC, but I never made him like in a super important character in the story. He's just very interesting, and you can get a lot of stuff out of him if you decide to go for him. But like I made him have this kind of big opening scene. Like the first time he's introduced into the story, he's like a big deal, but you also don't have to talk to him. He's just a boisterous, cool dude.
I don't think my character has talked to him, just as a spoiler.
No, I think at the time of recording, one PC has talked to him, if that. I think it's actually 0, which is very funny. But the other character that was like that could technically, quote unquote, like push the story was one of the coworkers for Dylan's character's Knox's workplace.
Okay. BRB, I'm gonna text Dylan.
Yeah. Just text him and be like, next session, you have to speak to Snagglefoot. Not his real,
Not
not the
his real
actual
name.
NPC's name.
All
No.
names have been changed to protect the innocent characters.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Except for Move Motor.
Except for movement. I keep derailing you, but this is
No. You're good. You're good.
the pinpoint
I
accuracy thing is really I really am digging this. So keep going.
Yeah, like I would say that when you're prepping as a GM, if you think you need an NPC to like be that catalyst for the story, if you're doing a story-based game and not a sandbox game, and like you have a story in mind, that NPC is one person in town. I think that's all you ever need. That's the broad stroke of it. It is the one person that you are going to force it's the one person in the town that you're going to force them to do. And even then, if they're like, well, actually, my character's a hunter and we got a druid, let's go check out the forest nearby. I want to go like check out to see if the wildlife is doing all right. And you start smashing your head behind your DM screen. Suddenly, someone casts like speak with animals, or there's a dryad maybe, and that is your NPC. That's the catalyst. Maybe they have like different reasonings as to why they would want you to go there than say like at the blacksmith or the guild master, but just make up a reason why this NPC would be interested in your storyline, because it's going to be a bigger thing, right? It's going to be something that like snatches. So if it's like a hidden artifact or a legend, you can like the dryad could be like, well, we believe that this treasure may be able to help the forest. Please go get it. And this actually leads into my third point, which I'll skip the second point for now, which is what makes the players active, right? And sorry, I'm talking a lot. I do want your opinion on this as well in a moment, but
yeah, absolutely.
What the players care about is what they will care about in your world. This doesn't just mean like, Gerald. I don't know why I can't say that name ever. But Gerald, who's your PC, who's playing like a human monk, this guy really digs fire trucks. Now in your D&D game, you have to make a fire truck, or like a fire department like whole thing. That's not what I'm saying. That's very different. As funny as it would be, and maybe it's like a whole thing for that character, or for that player, that's fun. But like, if it's a fantasy setting, that's just not going to work. I do have a slutty fireman character in my superhero campaign named Lane, and I love him, but that's not.
Is that an NPC or is that a player character?
That's an NPC. That's for me.
Yes. Okay. Great. Rock on. We love slutty firemen.
That's for me. But you have to know, like, I think talking with the PCs and talking, not talking with the PCs. They are imaginary. Talking with the players and discussing what their PCs care about will be very important for especially like first sessions, because you can put them in a tavern, you can put them in a jail cell and be like, you have to work together, and most of the time players will be like, okay, I guess we're doing that, but they're not going to be content with just doing that. They need something that gives them interest, and that's why I think having a broad stroke being like, you are in a city, what are you all looking for? And if they already work together due to the start of the campaign, like they know each other, they'd probably discuss like, hey, what do you guys want to look for? And as soon as they say what they're looking for, boom, you have your answer.
Yeah, Slav's example, so just so I don't let this pass by, Slav's example earlier of the fire truck and the guy who likes fire trucks and all of that, the reason that he stands so firmly by that not being the solution to get players invested is because he does not want to put a hockey into our D&D campaign for me.
That's true.
I hate hockey. Only reason.
Yeah, that's the reason that I'm saying this right now. Don't put hockey in your fantasy setting. Even if it's a modern setting, don't even make a hockey stadium. Don't make a hockey game. Your players will abuse it, I believe.
This is why we all want to unionize, for the record.
Yeah.
Union.
The rest of them want a union against me. Another, like, we in theory we all have 20%, but for some reason I am seen as the dictator.
Yeah, because you're the only one that tries to get shit done.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, you know what, you got me. That's my bad. I'm doing the Twitch emote caught. Caught.
Caught. Yeah, fair. No, that idea of like pinpoints, like, so start with the first idea, and then we're talking about pinpoint versus broad strokes, right?
Broad strokes, yes.
I think there's something, kind of what I come back to is a really great piece of advice from a DM I really like, Brennan Lee Mulligan, where he talks about when you write your world, you only need to write enough that you can summon the rest up when you need it. So essentially that's the same way of being like, okay, you have enough broad strokes going on that when the NPC that you really want doesn't go through because of banging your head into the table kind of reasons, you can immediately like know where in your world what you need to happen can come from. So
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. I was just agreeing with you pretty much.
Yeah, and
I was like, she's so right.
Oh, thanks. But that's and so it's like I say this sitting in a glass house. I get way too bogged down in details. When I DM, and it's like it's hard because I want them to go to this place. I want them to do this thing, but sometimes they just don't want to. But giving the players agency is a really good way to kind of make those things merge together, because if they say they want it and then you plan it, they're going to be so happy.
Yeah, that's a huge point too. Is like you got to make your players happy. Like you have to be happy too. So here's a happy medium little trick. If you're making a story-based game, you can just make any area that they have to go to the dungeon that you made that you thought was really cool, and then you can just like reskin it a bit. It doesn't matter. Like, it actually doesn't matter. You're like, well, actually, the Grand Canyon of Sarazad is actually like in the west, and they went to the east, so they just can't go there anymore. It's in the east now. You can't just be. You can do that. You can pluck it up and just take it there, and then name it the Heavenly Abyss or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter. And then you can make the Grand Canyon of Zarazad later when they're like, well, I heard about this Grand Canyon. We want to go check it out. And now you can just change the aesthetic of it. It's a new dungeon. You have time to make it now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like reskinning things, kind of being comfortable, adjusting on the fly. I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is like, the way these games work, nothing is technically canon until it's set at the table, really. Like there's some backstory stuff that like doesn't really apply to, but like in general, like your world building prep, none of that is really canon until you have committed it to a player or committed it to the table, So if you're still stuck on like this needs to be in the east, like no, put it in the west. They haven't gone there yet. Like it could be wherever.
Yeah, it don't matter.
It does not matter.
I think that's.
It don't matter.
I think that's pretty good on the GM side. Do you want to talk about some of your notes that you have?
Yeah. So the next sort of big thing that I have is thinking about how player prep really is contextual about the environment that you're going to be playing in. I have GM'd for like game stores before where it's like you drop in, you do a one shot, you probably are teaching the system to a bunch of players, like you do it in that way. And I've played in those settings, and there's a big difference between that and, a friend who sends you a 20-page lore doc and says, okay, this is like a starting primer this is a starting primer for the world that this group of people has been playing for 5 years or whatever. And it's like, okay, those are two very different contexts. So like part of being a player, like the very first thing I'm going to do when I agree to any kind of campaign is or not campaign, but like session or anything like that, is look at like, okay, what am I actually walking into? Because that's going to dictate how much work is expected of me and how much work is worthwhile to go into. Because if I'm at the game store and they just say, bring a level 5 character, you're all adventurers, I really don't need to know that character's backstory beyond they're an adventurer to start that one shot.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point where there's just there is that, like you said, contextual difference. I think it even matters for the system you're playing, really.
Absolutely.
Like that like D&D, you are an adventurer. What does an adventurer mean? An adventurer is someone who wants to like seek glory or get a bunch of riches, or maybe has to become stronger for some greater goal. And so that character needs some motivation or goal, at least to know how to play them a little bit. There is I was just yesterday I was GMing a Kane game. Kane is a TTRPG made by Tom Bloom, who's the creator of Lancer and a couple other ones who are co-creator of Lancer and Icon. And Kane is very heavily inspired by Monster of the Week, like Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen. You are a hunter of some supernatural beast, and you're probably going to die. And so none of the players really gave me a huge, big backstory. They gave me kind of a trope or a couple two sentences that is the epitome of the character. Edward's in that campaign, and he basically was just saying, "I'm going to play a character that has the personality of Snail from one of his favorite games, Armored Core 6, and then he has the edit ability, which just allows him to change the character's appearance like in a snap and change kind of reality around him." Cool. And you know what? I loved everyone's personalities. One of the players was playing like a hard ass that like sticks by the rules no matter what. The other one was playing like a manipulator trying to like pull strings to get everyone to do stuff for her. One was playing like a kid who was found in a scrap heap that could just like fling things with his mind. And they came prepped with the abilities and generally what they want their character to do. And that was it. And that was fun. It was a blast. They just focused on the mystery and hunting down the sin or the beast or the monster. I think there's also like narrative heavy games like Coup, where you're like motivation is your everything, right?
Right. And yeah, the system is going to be a huge determinant. There are also some systems that explicitly say this is meant to be played as a one-shot. No one should come in with an idea beyond a vague idea of what they want to play.
Yeah.
You know, but that's also what I mean. It's all contextual, right? Like it's all over the place. I mean, but I will say for the campaign that we're doing, you know, I put a lot of work into my character and I put a lot of thought into my character because we have to sit with this character for 30 I don't know how many sessions we're going to be doing, but you know, I don't know either. But I have to be with this character and like really sit with this character, and particularly when you're performing it, even if you know, like it's like, no, okay, I want to have more to draw on and more to play with and understand about this himbo that I've created.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. I think like with playing a character as well, I think that people kind of might get like, I think I'm not the type of player to make a 7-paragraph long backstory and know every in and out of character as it starts. I usually kind of snowball my character's backstory in a sense, where I don't know where I'm comfortable playing this character yet. I have an idea or like a general vibe for the character, but I don't know if I'm able to pull it off until I'm at the table. And so one of my favorite characters, my best characters of all time, Rahat, who is a god of nature who basically decays everything around him constantly, was a character that had he had a very simple backstory. He was from a different world. He was a god of rot. He couldn't like teach anyone anything because that's what he believed gods should do, is teach. And because he couldn't be near anyone, he couldn't teach anyone, so he grew into a depression, and then a cult tried to use him to blow up his world.
That's complicated,
so,
but that probably took you a
like,
while to get there.
like that was the general idea. That was like it's complicated, but a lot of the sentences that I just used, or even the words that I used, was like not there when I first made him. It was, he is a sad god. He is a god of rot that people like try to use his body for a doomsday cult, for like the catalyst to blow up his world. That was everything. And then like gods above him got really mad because he wasn't doing his job and banished him to a prison, which is where the setting of the campaign is. But through playing him, I realized what his weaknesses are. Like that like godly hubris that like Greek mythos always had. I was playing into those tropes without even realizing it, just because of how powerful the character is. And every time it happened, like me and Rahat would have that shame that I would also feel for like almost abusing the power, right? And it like allowed for a lot of this self-reflection of the character, and a lot of like just pieces being made. And like I could tell you everything about this character's perception now, but I don't think I could even 5 sessions into the campaign.
Yeah, and I think that also speaks to the necessity of thinking about your little guys when you're not playing.
Yes, very true. I monologue in the shower.
Me too. I literally I haven't done it yet, but I've been thinking about writing Corey's backstory into like an actual short story because I really like it, and I went really ham on it because I'm me. But I literally will like write that kind of like fill in details in my head just in the shower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Corey, for anyone who doesn't know, or KJ, is your character in the campaign we're running.
This is my -3 intelligence barbarian.
We love him. He's precious. And he might have black lung.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, no. No, I'm not. You're... Okay, everyone out there just heard Slive was about to try and make me roll for my job right then and there. That's exactly what happened. No, you can't make me roll.
Can you make me a con save real quick?
You cannot
Can you make me a con save? For this talk show. Yeah, every time I host one of these, I'm gonna make people make rolls for their characters. So like it's an ARG for our own D&D campaign. How messy would that be? That's awful. Never mind. No, but it's like when comic books try to do like this is the big event, and you can watch like the big event through you have to read Wonder Woman issue 15 to 17, and then you have to read Constantine issue 3 to 4. This is a real thing that happened to me. Sorry.
It is a real thing. Side note, it's a real problem that the MCU literally ran into. They reinvented the same problem.
Yeah, they did. It's in TV format now.
TV format
awful.
Now. It's insane. Yeah, I literally had a conversation with a coworker today where I was like, hey, I don't know why we were talking about Marvel. Oh, Marvel Rivals, which I do not play, but he does. So we were talking about Marvel, and he was like, what's your favorite Marvel? And I was like, well, I liked Agatha all along, which means you have to watch WandaVision, which means you have to have seen enough movies to know who the fuck Wanda is. You're just like, oh geez,
you gotta watch like Age of Ultron, and then Civil War, and then Infinity War, and probably like a couple things in between that.
Right. And you're just like, I'm just like, wow, this is so much homework to give my coworker for like the series that I actually think is good, you know?
Yeah. It's just, you can always just watch it and be confused. Like it sounds so demeaning and kind of like stupid to be like, oh, well, you can just watch it and be confused, because you're not smart enough or like have the ambition to watch the other 15, like the fucking like what 48 hours of content that you have to see just to watch Agatha all along.
Yeah,
but like that's just the truth of it. If you like, I think all media should stand up on its own. Die Hard 2 isn't good because it's Die Hard 1 but again, or like because I know who John McClane is. I actually watched a bit of Die Hard 2 before I watched Die Hard 1, and I was like, man, this is really good. Oh wait, this is a sequel. Like, you gotta. I can't get on the Marvel train. Because I'm a DC guy through and through, and so I'm just gonna sound like a hater. Even though I like Marvel, it's fine. It's fine.
It's
right?
fine.
It's fine. I'm gonna go to some GM tips if you don't have any more to say about yours.
Yeah, I don't have any more to say about my side for right now. I'm coming for you, gamers.
Yeah, I am coming from you, Marvel fans. So the next couple things that I have here are kind of like in the similar of what makes your players active, but this is kind of more long-reaching, which is be aware of player goals. A lot of TTRPGs allow you to have a section on the character sheet where you even just write down the goals of the characters so you don't forget. D&D doesn't do this because it's not meant to be a story-based game, at least from what I understand, at least originally.
Yes.
But having a goal, having an overarching goal for like even not just the end of the story, but like for the next couple sessions, can really make you as the GM not have to think that hard. If your players are really interested in finding a relic, or like it can be like not just the PC goals, but really the player goals. What do they want from a fantasy game? I want to like do a relic hunt. I want to have like an Indiana Jones adventure. I want to just do some dungeon crawling. I want to beat the shit out of somebody. I want to feel strong. Those are all things to do if they want to feel strong. Hey, how about we do a gladiatorial combat arc where you sign up and we just do a bunch of like crazy combat encounters for a session. If you want to do an Indiana Jones thing, you could be paid by a king and a noble, so you have a bunch of like teleportation activities, but you don't get the ability to teleport back and heal until you get the item. Right? You have to find a clue, and then you're allowed to come back.
Those all sound. God, those sound so fun. God, can I just sign up for all of that? That sounds great.
They do sound really cool, and now I'm mad because I'm not running them.
You're not running them. I mean, I love that. I'm not going to launch into it, but as a corollary to this, players, when a GM asks you what you want, it is your job to have an answer to that question, either as a player or for your character. But the worst response to get back as a GM when you say, hey, what are you interested in? What do you want? Is just a blank stare. Like,
yeah. Huh? What do you mean? What do I want? I thought you're supposed to like do everything for me.
Yeah. So just have a goal. But like as a DM, like focusing on player goals is super duper important. Because they're your players and they want to have fun. And if
it is a collaborative storytelling game. So if you can't collaborate, you're not telling a story. I'll tell you that much. At least not a story that people want to be a part of. Write a book. Go write a book.
Go write a book. I will say, I genuinely took that piece of advice and now I am writing a story. So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, like not even in a derogatory way. It's like if you feel like I've definitely had moments where I've been playing campaigns and I'm like, I love this world so much, but my players aren't really doing the things that interest me. I've been like, maybe I should just write some short stories about it. And I still might. I've been thinking about making an anthology like superhero series on fucking AO3 or something for years now.
Hell yeah.
And every day I get a little closer to doing it.
Hey, I mean, the formatting's annoying as hell, but I just don't know HTML. If I knew HTML, it would be fine.
I don't know what that is.
It's the way that AO3 formats everything. You'll see.
Oh, I see. I see.
This is not a fanfic podcast, I promise.
No, it's kind of a writing podcast, but not in the way you think.
Yeah, it is kind of. It's a group storytelling podcast. Yeah, but like everyone, just in general, everyone should be aware of what everyone wants and what they're hoping for. This goes for players should know what their GM wants and what they're hoping for. If your GM is hoping to make, I don't know, Saw and you're hoping for My Little Pony, it's kind of on both of you guys to figure that out and figure out what needs to happen, you know?
Yeah. I think there's also something to be said, and this is probably going to be for the next episode that we do, that we have planned. But I think there is something to be said that you don't have to say yes to every campaign that you're invited to, and you also don't have to invite every player. Like, on both sides of the coin, I think if you do not have to feel pressured to say yes, or you can even discuss to say, like, hey, do you want to play this dark fantasy, Bloodborne, and like kind of like Elden Ring inspired, horrific jaunt through a like decrepit castle, and you are afraid of body horror, and also don't really like Elden Ring, and we're thinking of playing a cyberpunk campaign. You can't be like, sure, I'll make it work, because either you're not going to have fun, or you're going to try and bring all those interests into your character and be like, actually, could I have like a plasma rifle, and also could I have like some power armor like Fallout? And then you're also destroying the GM's vision. And neither of you are wrong for wanting to have a character or a setting be the way it is, but you have to also be aware when to say no.
Yeah. I love that. I love that was a lovely way to kind of get off topic but stay on topic. That was really great.
It's like almost there.
It's
We're like
almost
on
there.
I'm on the line. I'm on the line.
We're sorry, I don't know why I'm the one bringing up we're off topic, because I'm doing it. It's
by mentioning we're off topic, you're getting off topic.
Oh no, now we're off topic about being off topic. How many layers of meta can we go?
This is the worst version of I was gonna say Interstellar. What's that movie? The Leo DiCaprio movie about dreaming?
Inception,
yeah, that one.
Oh,
I could name you 16,000 Digimon. I can't tell you one good movie.
It's a stretch to call Inception a good movie. It was just good when it was
I've never
released.
seen it.
Okay.
But another thing I do have to mention, because this is like nothing that we're really gonna. This is not a deep topic, I don't think, and I'm gonna try and like bite size a lot of these points and just kind of like have them linger in the air and maybe say a couple sentences of them rather than get into a couple conversations, because I'm not even a quarter done for my notes. I don't know about where you're at for yours.
Oh, I still have a couple.
Yeah, so I have just a note that says Captain Cold CW show, which probably means nothing to anybody. But if you know what I'm talking about, there's the Captain Cold in I think it's the CW's Flash has this one line, and it's been used a lot of times in D&D memes, but it is legitimately good advice, which is I'm also seeing it like in an inspirational quote, like meme format, you know, like the guy's face, like it's a real inspirational quote. I don't know why I found this image, but it's very funny to me because it quotes Leonard Snart, the fictional character, and not the actor who says it. Just something about that is very funny to me.
Okay,
but
that's really funny.
I'll if on the YouTube version, like on the video version, I'm going to put this image up because it is very funny. But basically it says, make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan.
That sounds right.
It sounds very cynical in some ways, but I do think that like it's very good advice, because you shouldn't be precious with your ideas, I guess. I think that's something that Brendan Lee Mulligan has said already, but that is
a piece of advice that a lot of people give, because it's a very good piece of advice for all artists.
Yeah, you have to be willing to let go or change or, you know, improvise, because like we said earlier, it can always be in the East. You don't have to be very specific, and if they don't want to fight another goddamn skeleton, maybe you shouldn't make the main villain a lich.
I like that.
And that's okay. You can just make it a stupid giant. And maybe the giant's rad as hell. Because fighting a giant is cool.
Fighting a giant is cool.
It's cool.
I take back everything that we've talked about in prep. I want to fight a giant.
Yeah, no problem. All right, no problem. Cool. On it, the whole campaign is changing. If one episode in the campaign that you're listening to seems like everything changed up and the whole like vibe is messed up and also the locations don't sound the same, blame Micah.
We spun the wheel. It's my fault.
Yeah. Monkey's paw.
Okay, I have a tip for players. This is less a tip. I'm more just a thing that I think everyone can be better about for players, which is just read the damn system. Again, it's contextual.
Holy shit. It's so real.
It is contextual because like game stores literally will have one shots where it's like you will learn the system when you get there. Like, and there are systems that are meant for that. Forged in the Dark systems are particularly good for that because they're really easy to learn. But just like if you know what it is beforehand, especially if you have a copy or have access to a copy, do yourself the favor as the player to like at least try to understand the words that are going to be said to you. Because it will make you start having fun so much faster. Like
for sure.
If you walk in cold, like if you're new to D&D and for whatever reason listening to this podcast, hey, welcome.
Play a different system. Sorry.
That's fair. But
Sorry.
Hey, welcome. D&D is complicated. Do your best. Try and figure things out before you go to a table, and then from there you'll be able to like you'll still have questions. You can't get it perfectly or anything like that, but just like if you have the chance, read the system. You will get so much out of it, and it will really help you also become a better player to your fellow players if you know the rules and can help them with it too.
Yes, I think it's also good to say that, like, first and foremost, even with saying all this, every table, unless you're playing pro, like, ranked D&D for some reason, like, every table is there to help people learn the hobby. It's a hobby, and you don't have to be good at a hobby to enjoy it. That is true. But Mike is right in saying that if you can at least give yourself a prep to the rules, you don't have to remember them. You just have to digest it as well as you can, because at least then when it's mentioned in the game, it will be so much faster to deal with. Because if you don't know what advantage is, but you read the advantage rule, and then someone says, oh yeah, roll that with advantage. You're like, what's that? And they go, you roll 2 dice and take the higher. And you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Sometimes people just, like, it takes a little bit to understand that rule. Like Aka, who is a member of our podcast, this is his, like, the first campaign that we're going to be posting is his first ever time playing D&D. And he needs some time to run it. And we did a little session 0 that's not posted anywhere. I don't believe we're going to post anywhere. But he did a great job, but he didn't know everything, and that's okay. There's a lot to read in D&D, and he did a great job, and we did our best to teach him, and, like, we don't hold any ill will to him because he didn't know the goddamn system before we decided to start playing. But please do try to read if you can. And GMs, I will say, if you know that no one knows the system and you're still struggling to read the system, have a session 0 with everybody where you all kind of like, where you try to teach them the mechanics of the system the best way you can. It doesn't have to be everything. Like if we're talking about D&D, you don't have to tell them about how fall damage works or how suffocation works, but they should know how to swing a weapon and how to cast a spell.
Right. I think of a long time ago, I DM'd a campaign of a game called Scions where you're playing half human, you're playing demigods essentially, and it's
what? And you haven't invited me to that yet?
This was when I was in college. This is a long time ago. And I literally did not click with me how combat worked in that game until I literally was in a combat encounter with 6 players staring at me, and that's not the way you'd want to do it.
That's horrifying. That is.
If you do a session 0, then you can have that moment, but as a session 0, right? Like you can have that moment where it's like,
exactly.
Oh, okay, this is actually how this thing works. I completely understand it now. Like, got it. We're good. But you can have that not in your like session 1 where people are like, okay, we have a story. Like, there was like a story hook and we have a thing to do.
We have stuff to go. And this is another thing. Don't ever feel ashamed as a GM to be like, actually, I really need to check the rule for this real quick. Because a lot of time you can't just wing it and be like, this is how we're doing it for now. It may change later when I figure it out. But there's times where it's like, wait, this could really change the impact of the scene. Yesterday I was playing Kane, and I didn't know how this hook system worked, basically, or the affliction system, where an affliction is a permanent change for the rest of the hunt. And I was like, do you just get that immediately if you roll poor enough, or do you still have to go through the hook, which is like a timer, basically, when you get it? Because if you're just given the affliction on the dot, then the game kind of gets super screwed for you for a bit. For like the rest of the hunt, and so there's no way of combating it. I'm like, that doesn't seem fair, so let me just make sure that's not how it works, because I'm not really sure. So I've made sure, and yeah, it's the hook no matter what, thankfully. But that's something like you're gonna have to look into. Like, don't feel shame and don't feel bad or stupid for not understanding the rules perfectly, and you shouldn't ever shame someone else for not knowing the rules perfectly, because again, it's a hobby, and also you guys are here to have fun.
Yeah, that is the big thing, is like, don't shame people for not knowing things. I know I say like read the system and everything, but like if someone does roll up to the table and they're like, look, my week was really rough, I didn't get a chance to read the system, be helpful. Like don't be like, don't withhold to be like, you should have read the system.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you didn't read the 60 pages that was due today? Like, what is this, high school? Get over yourself. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm backing up.
I don't know. It's all contextual.
I'm getting heated. This talk show gets me heated.
Bro, take a step off.
I'm taking water. I have no water left. It's fine.
I know, I'm running out of water too. I don't know what I was gonna say.
Let's. I can go for a few more notes if you want to get onto a topic.
Sure. A couple more notes. Let's go.
We'll do a couple more of these, and then I'll pass it back to you.
Sure.
So I think these are mainly for prepping session prep. I guess all session prep is before it's happening, but this is like stuff that you can do to, like, especially if you feel lost during a session. You're like, well, they're not at the place that I want them to do the thing yet, and I really don't know what the things are going on. I don't know what's happening. And so I have a couple things for that. There's obviously, you can assess encounters, random or otherwise. Like, what do you think that they might be interacting with during this session? You can like decide, hey, I just want to get a couple random combat tables in. You can maybe look at one of your D100 tables that you've looked at and roll that before the session and be like, okay, well, this is going to be a fun little detour. Try to figure out something that like will be fun, maybe narratively enriching, but those encounters can always be caused by the thing that you're trying to allude to later, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing is review the previous session. Like doing or repeating anything you do in a session is not bad. It's never bad to repeat. I'm a repeater through and through. I love just doing the same shit. But it is good to make sure you don't do it 2 sessions in a row, especially when players usually want to feel like they're progressing in some way. So always review the previous session and see how you can add on or build off of something that maybe was only half mentioned last session, or like was only a piece of what happened. Um, Something that I really need to start doing, because I don't, is make post session notes where I note all the decisions that people made after, like, I already made my pre session notes, because that makes things change, and then certain decisions are made and certain things are said and certain intel is given, and that's kind of important. And I always forget to do that, and then it makes me look kind of stupid when we start up the session again.
That's also not a bad idea as a player. Like, again, from the player side, like,
Yeah.
go over the previous session. Especially if you're playing a mystery. Especially if you're playing a mystery, go over
Super especially
the previous session in your head, you know, or with your table mates, or, you know, like, but if you're between sessions, like, you know, spend some time thinking about, like, genuinely, like, what happened, what did we do, and, like, figure it out, you know, and just kind of like, how might my character respond, and, like, so you're not having to come up with that in the moment necessarily. You kind of know already, like, oh, I think they'd be happy with this or upset with this or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's just good. Notes are good to do. I hate doing them. That's how my feelings are all the time. Notes are amazing. When I make them, they're great. When I think about doing them, I don't feel great. But the last thing that I'll do on my side here is assess the vibe you want for the session. This is a really important thing for GMs. The vibe matters. The vibe really does matter. And I think it really, like, helps you figure out what you're trying to plan for this session. I think it'll get, especially if you work on the vibe, people will start to, like, I think players usually kind of, like, mirror that a little bit. Like, I have a couple examples, like music. You can check what music or songs you want to use for the session. Like, are you going to be in hell? Is this doom, or is this, like, layers of fear? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, the soundtracks that you choose matter. Descriptions. How much do you want to, like, egg on the horror, the terrifying factor, the beauty, the unnerving sections? These are things that I like. Even like, in my writing, I was constantly kind of told, I realized that I constantly need to work on my imagery. And that's the same thing as a GM. Imagery is awesome. It's so fun, actually, as long as your players, like, don't interrupt you every other sentence. Imagery is really fun, and it allows the players to get invested a lot easier, because you don't have to just say, like, oh, there's mountains. Like, what's on the mountains? Especially when you're in a fantasy or in a techno state, like, the genre you're playing in makes the colors change. Like, that mountain might not have snow on it. It could have like some satellite dishes or something on it, or it could have, like, runes carved into it from a dragon or something. That imagery, while those mountains may never matter, it gets an idea across to the players of how many things are wondrous in the world, or terrifying, or awful, or beautiful.
Yeah, I think imagery in, like, your descriptions is really good. I also think, like, having some reference images, if you really, like, if you're feeling particularly inclined or inspired, this isn't a, like, requirement, but I would also say, like, have some reference images. If you're like, hey, I really want a sunset that looks like this because it just is really important to me as, like, an imagery thing, you can describe that sunset and then put up a picture of it that you found. That helps too. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to, like, get visual with it and be like, I mean, I had a DM that would, like, play specific sounds for people. Like, she would do perception checks and then pull people aside and be like, you hear this sound, and she would play it on her phone.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I had a GM that would, like, we played online, so he had a bunch of tabs open of, like, voice lines from other pieces of media that he really liked that worked with the scene. So he'd just, like, have them ready, or, like, when announcements were happening inside the base, he had stuff like that. Like, that was really cool. It really got you immersed.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. But yeah, those are just, like, things. The last note I actually want to make. This just says pull the trigger early if it's necessary. If your storyline's dragging, and you're like, well, they have to go like 3 cities to find the big bad, and you realize how long players take to travel from one city to the end of that one city. God, just make it sure they're in the next town. Make this like cliffhanger where they get to the entrance of the town, and then if it's a western, like the big bad just got off their horse and is looking down at you. They have their hand on the 6-shooter, and a bunch of people are like, his whole gang is just getting off their horse, and now they're getting their rifles out, and then end the session. You can have those things. And you're like, well, I wanted to be in like Bridgetown. And it's like, this is Bridgetown now. Bridgetown is just a little closer. And if players are like, I thought Bridgetown was way farther out, you can just be like, no, you're thinking of Aceburg. It's like, no, I thought we were going to Aceburg. No, you're not. You're going to Bridgetown.
So this is Gatekeep Gaslight Game Master?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Perfect.
You can be honest about it. You can be like, yeah, I was pretty wrong about that. You can like just be like, yeah, I thought that you guys were like Bridgetown was like a little bit further, but let's just make it here. I think that's easier for everybody. You can get there in a couple days' work. How does that sound? And no one's gonna be like, well, this really fucks up my vibe. I was planning on it to take 7 days. Damn it. Come on, man. I wanted this to be a huge, long, multi-session journey through desert dunes and dry deserts, and for nothing to happen.
That sounds like my idea of a good campaign.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Actually, I think that'll be what the next campaign I run for the podcast will be.
Okay, perfect.
Just 12 sessions of nothing.
Oh my god, literally we do it John Carpenter style. Not John Carpenter, John Cage.
Who's John Cage?
John Cage. He is an American composer who is most famous for writing a piece entitled 4 minutes and 33 seconds, which is an orchestral piece which is fully conducted, in which every instrument is silent. They all turn their pages in unison. It is all written out as musical rests, and it is supposed to take 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yes. That is what I will do for a campaign, and everyone will clap, and my campaign will be in a museum for how innovative it is.
Yes. So, I'm sorry I called him John Carpenter, famed horror director and special effects artist.
Guy who really wanted to do romance movies.
Stop. That's so wild.
It's true. Yeah, no, that's those are the main tips I have for my section, so we can bounce it over to you. What do you got?
Realistically, the last kind of bit that I have is just is sort of something I said before, which is just between sessions, just take a little bit of time and reflect on what did we do last session? What would my character actually think about that? And just sitting with that answer just a little bit. And it can be a really simple answer they think it's funny if nothing really happened, there can be really, really simple answers, but depending on your campaign and your setting and all that, your answers can be pretty complicated. And giving those a little bit of space helps you get back into the table and say what you want to say with your character,
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very important thing to remember. As a player, you are technically impacting in theory, a player is impacting as little comparative to the GM. The GM is technically, quote unquote, impacting everything because he's controlling a whole world. So when you have your chance, you do an action. Don't just be like, I do a perception check. You can, but what does it look like? What are you perceiving with? Are you specifically Are you like some eagle-eyed scout, or are you a blind man that can just hear things at an incredible rate? Are you Daredevil? Like, how are you sensing? What are you perceiving? How are you perceiving? Um, One, because that, like, it helps the GM, because the more descriptive you are, the more the GM can like really pinpoint and figure out an answer for you that's satisfying. And two, because then you look cool as hell, or sly, or flirty, or stupid, however you want your character to appear. You can do that with the description, and then people get more of an idea, and people love that. Like, again, it's going back to imagery. You get that chance to use imagery for your character.
It is a weapon.
That was what you were talking about, right?
Yes. I also
Okay, cool.
I also just mean, like, think about what your character feels in a campaign. You know? Like genuinely, like, okay, you're playing this person. How might they feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an important part. Like, your character is not just you. Sometimes they will be angrier about something than you. Sometimes they will lash out more than you would. Maybe they'll bite their tongue when you cuss someone out. It's like, characters are inspired by experience, and so a lot of my PCs are actually inspired by my personality traits of my own, and that's no lie. But I've definitely, it reminds me of this one, like, that classic when you're like 13 and you decide to like really pick apart films, and you're like, well, why don't these people just talk it out, or why would this person get really angry? They should just explain themselves.
Demands it.
Because the plot demands it. That's the rule. It's like if we want to go even back to Marvel that we were talking about, why does the Thing beat the Hulk? Because that's what the writer wanted. And because it gives drama, because it leads to these moments, these emotions that you feel. And so if you take the most logical route every time when role-playing, sometimes it's going to be the least satisfying option. And I think giving yourself space, and your player or your character space, to really have an extreme emotion or even do something irrational, it's not wrong. It's actually awesome. I'm trying to think of like an example, possibly from even just the campaign that we're running right now.
The only example I can think of hasn't happened yet.
That's true. But
it's coming.
I think. Actually, Edward's character, when Edward's character tries to go to his employer to talk about his position. This like, the way I'm talking about this campaign makes it sound like it's an office job, which is really funny. Like, you guys live in cubicles. The next campaign we're doing is actually just The Office.
I'm telling you, it's Severance.
Yeah, it's Severance. No, but when Edward's character Valsic, who's like he's a bard rogue multiclass who's like a big entertainer magician character, basically gets shafted as a stagehand. He goes to his employer to like complain, and it's a stupid idea for the setting and the like area that they're in. Like, it doesn't sound it, but it's very dangerous. It was a very dangerous decision, but it was fucking hilarious, and it was awesome to like play off of that and play and like find a way where he doesn't get punished, but also he can still like have that moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Also may depend on the roles too.
Oh yeah. I think it's really cool. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I am excited for more irrational moments to come. I'm playing a barbarian, so I think that just has its own set of implications for irrational moments.
Yes. Very much so, yes. I'm just going to quickly go through the final bits and parts because we have been going longer than I thought we would.
Okay, perfect.
A couple things that I just want to shout out, or like it kind of, I think a couple things that I've said that like are, you know, a little bit of wax poetic, but I think it's nice. Like these are things that you can make into an inspirational poster and put it on your wall and just make sure you remember it, right? Don't make players regret being invested. I'm not going to elaborate on that. You have to decide what that means. Be confident that you will be surprised. Same answer. Figure it out. This is your creative writing class. You have to figure out what these sentences mean. They're pretty obvious, but
furiously taking notes.
Yeah. Don't make players regret getting invested. Be confident that you will be surprised, and know the campaign you are in. And I think that last one can be used for GMs and for players. I think those are three very important things that I have found to think about that makes it so that I try to make sure that the players have the best experience possible, and I get to be on my toes creatively while not feeling like I'm being bombarded with a bunch of work. Two other things that I just want to mention is Matthew Colville. He has an entire YouTube channel talking about specifically D&D DMing and like stuff to prepare for, and like he has a thing that's like making a dungeon in 20 minutes, which is very fun because it talks about like how many encounters, quote unquote, players are expected to go through in a session, and also like what you can expect and how you can plan to kind of like make your sessions in a way. Highly recommend looking up Matthew Colville if you want more tips and someone who's been in the game for decades. And knows, like, who's been playing since first edition. He's a genius. He is very wise. He's very fun to listen to. I really enjoy his videos. And a last quick tip, just have any rules that may be important written down and close by to you. If you play online, have the tab open. If you play in person, print the page or write it down on a little sticky note or have it on your DM board. If you know a rule is going to come up and you know that you're going to have to talk about the ruling, make sure it is available easily, because you hate to kill momentum that way.
Yeah. Counterspell is always going to come up. If you have a 3rd level caster, Counterspell will come up. Like, they changed it for 5.5. So like you need to.
They did. I'm going to have to pull that up.
Do we have anyone that can have Counterspell?
I think so.
Or is it level? Oh, it is level 5 when you get 3rd level slots. That's right.
Yes, it is.
It's one.
Oh no, I don't think Nox can have it. No, Nox can have it. So I won't have to worry for a little bit.
Depends on when he gets those extra bard spells.
No, that's Valsic.
That's Valsic. Oh, yeah. Right, but Valsix wouldn't have it because it's multi-class.
Yeah. So Nox is not going to have it. So that's good.
Yeah, but just
Thank
like if you have a wizard, you're going to have to know the rules to counterspell and dispel magic. And like it's stuff like that where it's like just if you don't have it memorized.
If you have a wizard, you're going to have 10 times more work because it means you have to have a spell scroll in every single loot cache, and then you have to find out what spells they don't have. Speaking from experience in my home game of D&D. Is there any other like quick tips or like sentences, poetic sentences you want to leave off the episode with, Micah?
None that I can think of. So, yeah, I think we can call that good.
Cool. Yeah, I think
outro music.
I don't think we're gonna have that. I was thinking of doing like an actual outro.
Oh no!
Like I can talk a little bit.
Okay, perfect.
I can like. We don't have to do it. I'm just gonna talk. I'm just gonna go. Okay, kill the music. I'm talking. I think the best thing to end off this whole thing of prepping a session, the best thing to end it off with is that you have to know what you're doing. But that doesn't mean you have to be knowledgeable. You just have to take a couple notes about the players that you're playing with, the people that you're with, and what snacks to buy before the session. That's specifically for players. Because GMs should not have to pay for your shit. Sorry. They do enough! But all in all, prepping for a session shouldn't stress you out, and it shouldn't honestly take more than maybe a couple hours or even a couple days if it's really important, like planning for a big production like podcast stuff. I try to prep a little more just because I need to make sure things get done and I'm lazy, but normally sessions shouldn't take that long to prep. World building, that's another question or another topic, but for now, get your pen up, write a couple things, make them fight a giant, have fun. This is a hobby. And wake up. This has been Sleep Talk. See you again next time.